Hello and thank you for joining us on the program. I am Oyi Adekunle. The National Industrial Court has ruled in favor of embattled former governor of Kogi State, Simon Achuba, and ordered the state government to pay him 180 million naira as outstanding security votes due to him from April 2018 to August 2019. Now, Achuba's travels began in 2018 over reports of an alleged strain between him and his superior, Governor Yahaya Bello. Consequently, the former governor, deputy governor, was suspended by the All Progressives Congress for anti-party activities, and a 7-member panel was set up to investigate the allegations. Now, the panel submitted its findings to the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, actually exonerating Achuba of all the allegations of gross misconduct brought against him. But surprisingly, the House still went ahead to impeach him, and the Chief Judge went on to swear in Edward Onoja, that's Yaya's Chief of Staff, as the new Deputy Governor almost immediately. But ruling on the matter, Justice Oyebiola Oyewumi said 180 million naira is to be paid by the state government within the period of 30 days, or 30% interest will be paid monthly. All right, joining me now to discuss more on this is Jibrin OKUTEPA, a senior advocate of Nigeria, and of course, he joins me via Skype from Abuja. Mr. OKUTEPA, thank you very much for joining us on the program. First off, let's talk about the circumstances that led to Simon Achuba's impeachment in the first place. In fact, the panel that was set up by the state government had said, okay, these allegations against him were not proven, but they still went ahead and impeached him. The chairman of the panel, in fact, said that he did not know, he only heard on TV that the deputy governor had been impeached. What exactly do you make of that?
Well, unfortunately, we are in Nigeria where culture of impunity is at its peak, where we are in a democracy where coup d'etat in the form of civilian coup against constitution is allowed at the. Otherwise, I have the privilege to be the lead counsel for Deputy Governor Simon Achuba, and the government in the first place made allegations that were bogus, allegations that could not be sustained, allegations that were tended to massage the egos of what seemed to be an emperor in that state. And when the man exercised his constitutional right to cry out after too much oppression, the then former chief judge of the state was approached for the panel to set up. The panel was set up here by an eminent legal practitioner of credit and man of impeccable character, my brother Silk, John Bayesan, SAF. They appeared there, they called witnesses, and the witnesses all collapsed like the back of car. And by the provisions of Section 188 of the Constitution, when the panel set up, it turned a verdict of allegation not true. That should have put an end to the so-called impeachment move. But that would not satisfy people who want him out of the state.
Sorry to cut you here. Let's talk now about the role that the Chief Justice of the state played. Because it was actually the one who swore the new deputy governor in almost immediately.
Well, it is not in my place to speak about somebody who is not alive. I know that the then Chief Judge state is no rest. He seems to have performed what appears to be the constitutional duty. He was not sitting as a judge then, so he was called upon to perform administrative function. And mark you, before my Lord had gone to meet the Creator, he was having a running battle with the Creator. And so, in order not to be seen as perhaps that is the only rationale I can. So at this stage, we performed the job, but we went to court about that illegal impeachment. And the learned trial judge, Olufemi, described what happened as constitutional coup that shouldn't happen in democracy. And that judgment was handed down. Impeachment was nullified. Purported swearing was set aside. Everything was declared null and void, and it was ordered to be paid his salaries and allowances and all of that. So that's the position as at today, even though I'm told that the state government had gone on appeal. But you cannot frighten an old woman white hair who will meet them in court, because court has been where I have been going, and that I was found worthy in knowledge and character to who I am today by the grace of God. So we will meet them there, and they will answer whatever they have. But let them serve Elder Simon ACHUBA first, and then when we get to the peace.
I mean, but I want to get your position on this now. Was it right then for the government to have withheld allowances that were due to the former deputy governor?
How could it have been right? How do you encourage? There is no any other name you can give to wrong that it is wrong. No matter how we give a particular name of right to wrong, wrong remains wrong. And so one of the problems I think we have in this country is that we seem to be operating civilian regime devoid of democratic principles. Because in democracy, where the rule of law holds sway, the fundamental right to express your views and disagree even with your boss is enshrined in our country. But what we practice appears to be democratic to easy. The kind, with apology to late so rest in peace. To be not here, one is saying to be go, he go, come, he come. That's the kind of democracy that the Nigerian people are being subjected. Otherwise, if the deputy governor was of the opinion that they're not doing what's right, where reason and sanity prevail, then you will be called to say, let us do what we do for the people. But mark you, in Nigeria, sovereignty does not belong to the people. Sovereignty belongs to the parent of the God. Kogi and what I refer to as gunshot democracy. So that's the kind of democracy we practice. And I weep for this country.
And now the National Industrial Court has asked the state government to refund 180 million naira to Simon ACHUBA now. Do you think that this is fair enough?
Well, it is better than none. There is a saying that have read is better than none. By that judgment also, Elder Simon ACHUBA has also been stated that what was due to him was withheld. And it ought not to be so because he was entitled to it. But unfortunately, this is Nigeria. That judgment, as he has it, all of us are aware that he has judgment. Another thing is obedience to that judgment. And in Nigeria, the majority of Nigerians are yet to be aware that it is another kettle of altogether after obtaining judgment in your case. Obedience to that judgment is another kettle of altogether. Indeed, that obedience, enforcement of that judgment is another issue. And I pray that Elder Simon ACHUBA will pursue it, and in his lifetime it will be obeyed, because Nigerian leaders have total respect. Most of them total respect for court orders and court orders. And unfortunately, they are also being assisted by some members of the legal profession, which I have been misfortunate to respect. I say misfortunate because the legal profession that I grew up to see was a profession of Spartan life, where respect is accorded to integrity. But today, all that we need to get some people who have no respect for the due process and the rules of the criminal conduct to show disobedience to one another in the name of the procedural step. Unfortunately, we may be talking about this in the next 10 years.
And lastly, before I let you go now, let's look at the precedent that this has probably caused. We've seen cases of this, the whole idea of strained relationship between deputies and governors. We saw it also play out in Ondo State between Rotimi Akeredolu and Agbola Ajayi. Now, what exactly is the side of the Constitution on this?
Well, the Constitution makes election of either president or governor unlawful without appointment of vice presidential candidate or deputy governor candidate. And they are supposed to work together. But in Nigeria, the moment, apart from President Buhari, who seems to be in good accord with the vice president, most at times we see the vice president or deputy governor falling out of power or out of favor with their principal. The unfortunate situation is uncalled for, and the reason is very simple. There appears to be running a primordial partisan selfish interest in this country, devoid of the interest of the people. And so most of those disagreements are seen are not disagreements on the basis of what Nigerian people will benefit from, but what really benefits even the individual persons involved. So for me, it's unfortunate that it happens in Nigeria, and it will continue to happen unless we decide to be patriotic and nationalistic and do what we need to do for the vast majority of Nigerian people. But if we don't do what we need to do for vast majority of Nigerian people, and we're going to selfish primordial partisan interest, then you will see more of disagreement between president, vice president, governor, and their deputy, or even disagreement within the government itself. And that is not good for the masses of people.
I mean, very briefly now, I know you said it several times in the course of this interview. You kept saying, this is Nigeria, this is Nigeria. And then we cannot continue to justify what is wrong with that phrase of this is Nigeria. So going forward, what measures should we begin to put in place now to ensure that our judicial system actually functions as a proper system, as it's meant to be, and we cannot continue to see a flagrant disregard of the rule of law in the country?
There are no consequences until we begin to apply consequences. I mean, until we begin to see consequences following misconduct, the impunity will continue. And the power to enforce obedience to court order is in the executive. And I say this because if you want to enforce judgment of court today, you need the police. And there are some ridiculous laws in our system that say you need the consent of the Attorney General of either of the state or the federation. And so no one will give you license, for instance, to be husband, no matter how they disagree. And the Attorney General is an appointee of the president or the governor. And so in most cases, those archaic laws need to be removed. Two, the judiciary itself needs to assert itself, because Section 6, subsection 6 of our Constitution gives the judiciary the power to enforce its own judgment, because enforcement of judgment is part of the compendium of judicial power. Until the judiciary itself take the bull by the horn and say you cannot disobey my order and come before me and take his destiny in his hands, nobody will help the judiciary. So we must start with the judiciary that's truly independent, that's impartial, that is fearless, that is manned by men and women of impeccable character and integrity. Men that are like Joseph in the Bible, who can run away from Potiphar's wife and say, no, we will not do this. Or men like Daniel, who will say, no, I will not defile myself with the king's food. That's the kind of judiciary we need. And when we get to that stage, the politicians will have faith to take us for granted. But until then, if we are obnobbing with, if angel is obnobbing with devil, is likely to be corrupted by devilish character. So we should avoid obnobbing with bad people, and then the system will work perfectly well. That's my.
All right, Mr. Jibrin OKUTEPA, we thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on analysis. We'll go on a short break now, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. All right, joining me now to discuss more on the Kogi State issue involving the former governor of the state, Simon Achuba, is Idris Miliki, the Executive Director of the Conscience for Human Rights and Conflict Resolution. Mr. Miliki, thank you very much for joining me on the program. First of all, let's begin with the lost love between Achuba and the governor, Yahaya Bello. What exactly do you make of it?
Thank you for the opportunity to air my opinion. Well, maybe before we do that kind of issues, the issue here is impeachment. The issue here is about procedural issue and abuse of procedure itself. When you talk of lost love, I didn't know when they started their love. So, but what's important to us is about the issue of law and legality, and the legality that surrounds the impeachment itself. I am a witness in the Kogi State House of Assembly when the process began, when the 3 persons committee that the assembly set up to go and do that kind of activity. And like you rightly said, there was a committee that was set up by the government or the state assembly, which exonerated the deputy governor, because as far as we are concerned here, there was no impeachment in the first instance. But the unfortunate thing was the fact that it was the assembly that complained, and it was the same assembly that also came up to say that despite the report of the committee was not did not indict the former deputy governor, it went ahead, moved a motion, and he was impeached. But when you look at it, the complaint that they gave cannot be substantiated, and I think to me that is where the real issue is. And from day one, for those of us who have been working in the assembly for the past 14 years in Kogi State, not as an elected member or a staff, but as a civil society engaging and participating in bills in the assembly, at least I have had not less than at least 75 sitting. I participated in more than 75 sitting of the Kogi House of Assembly in the last 14 years. So I know definitely in and out of what is happening there. So when you talk, the fact that there was no really established fact, there was no reason, but certain individual was interested in his office. And all what they simply did was to dig pit for him, frustrated him, and now claim that he doesn't attend State Executive Council. And based on that, they now said he needs to be impeached. And you should remember that it was the SSG that really wrote a report that led to the assembly setting up a committee to investigate. But I think the important thing here is the fact that it's like what a Yoruba will talk. Ejolowonu is the issue that really affects here. The snake has a hand inside. The key here is that you set up a committee based on constitutional provision. And that committee came and said, this person have not committed any offense. The matter ought to have ended. You know, we have a similar issue with the governor of Nasarawa State, the former governor of Nasarawa State, where a committee was set up. And at the end of the day, they couldn't prove anything against him. And at the end of the day, the man was exonerated and he completed his office. Another one is the recent experience in Ondo State, where they could not get a tutor, and the matter ended at that level. So the matter ought to have ordinarily ended when the committee that was set up by Chief Judge submitted a report that the former deputy governor, Honorable Achuba, have not committed any offense.
And so would you consider the ruling of the National Industrial Court now that 180 million withheld allowances be repaid to Achuba? Would you consider that as a win for him?
Of course, it's a win-win situation. You know, this is not the first victory for him at the court. There's a federal high court in Kogi State also said there was no even impeachment because there was no evidence to warrant the first instance. And it was the same persons that complained that also moved a motion in the state assembly. And that is very unfortunate for us here because people who are elected to make laws are perpetrating illegality. So it's a victory for us, even in Kogi State, because we are going to learn a lesson not to do things that are illegal, particularly for institutions that are put in place through legitimacy and constitutionalism. Assembly is a legitimate institution that's supposed to make law for the people. Why are they perpetrating illegality themselves? So I think to me that is very important. That is a victory for Kogi and victory for Honorable Achuba.
And the court did say that the money must be paid within 30 days or 30% interest will be paid monthly. Do you see the Kogi state government obeying this court order? I mean, we saw recently the deputy governor come on air and was talking about the destruction by hoodlums in the state and was crying the state needed assistance and all of that. Coupled with that, do you think that the state would be willing at this time to pay this money?
Those ones are just by the side. We cannot be sentimental about court ruling. The governor himself was put in place through a legitimate and legal process. He went to court. The selection was challenged twice in court, and everybody abide by the court ruling. So there is no excuse to say I have no money or what have you. They have to look for that money to pay and to oblige the court ruling. So there is no excuses. Whether anybody cry foul. I'm from Kogi State. I'm a citizen of Kogi State, and I have lived in this state for the past 16 years consecutively. So I know what is happening here. So as far as we are concerned, the government of Kogi State have no excuses. The money should be paid and to reconcile with the citizens of Kogi State, particularly Honorable ACHUBA.
All right, Mr. Idris MILIKI, the Executive Director of the Conscience for Human Rights and Conflict Resolution. We thank you very much for speaking to us on Analysis.
Thank you.
Well, that's the much we can take on this episode of Analysis. We thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. I'm Onye Adekunle. Bye for now.